everyone, welcome from Wall. My name is Mason Knopp, and today we have another deck, of course. This time we're not doing any gameplay. I didn't have time today. I had to work this morning. So we're doing Rakdos Skeleton Tribal, a deck I'm calling Bad to the Bone. So yesterday, as I mentioned with tribal decks, unfortunately in Pauper Tribal there aren't a whole lot of lords to pump up all of the key creatures that you would use to make it a tribal deck work and sort of be a payoff for having this condition of having all these skeletons. So instead, we're just going to be focused on making each one of them as good as possible. For starters, we have Augur of Skulls. Augur of Skulls is actually comparable to a Hymn to Torok. It's slower, but it also can be a 1/1 with Regenerate. It's not great at being either one, but it does have its ups and its downs compared to Hymn to Torok. Whereas Hymn to Torok isn't very good if your opponent is empty-handed. Augur of Skulls is still acceptable when your opponent is empty-handed, because now you can have this 1/1 regenerate creature that you can throw onto the battlefield. And we actually have some loops coming up with him and some synergies. Cinderbones is an awesome creature. I like Cinderbones. It's a 3-mana 1/1 with pay 1 and a black, regenerate Cinderbones, and it has Wither. So any creature that it deals combat damage to, it takes damage in the form of -1/-1 counters. So that Gurmag Angler becomes a 4/4. The Gurmag Angler then becomes a 3/3, and then a 2/2. And they have to actually think to themselves, is it worth it to attack here, because my creatures are going to lose some of their value every time that I swing into the Cinderbones if Cinderbones doesn't kill them. We got Dimir Houseguard, an awesome tutor. We got Rime-Bound Dead. Rime-Bound Dead is just a 1/1, but it has Regenerate for 1, and it only costs 1. So it's a super cheap early Regenerate creature. A very, very good blocker, very strong. One of the strongest skeletons. The only condition is that it needs snow mana. Thankfully, we have 10 Snowland in the deck and technical 13. So Rime-Bound Dead, we can pass with Rime-Bound Dead. The Sanitarium Skeleton is similar to Rime-Bound Dead, just a 1-mana creature, very cheap, early blocker. For this one, in this case, is a 1/2. You can pay 3 mana and return him from the graveyard to your hand. And this is a creature that we can always have access to in the graveyard, and we always can continuously get back. Or maybe she, I don't know. So the first thing that I wanted to do to make our creatures better is to give them some artifacts. I like giving these creatures either auras or equipments. Whenever you have a good creature that's difficult to deal with and it's cheap, that usually is assigned to go with some auras or some equipment. I'm choosing equipment because there are some cards that can remove regenerate creatures. Like there is Journey to Nowhere, for instance. God, phone. Not now. And why not take some equipment that is already played and is already very good? We have Flare Husk for 1 mana. It gives equipped a creature +1/+1, and you can equip it for 2, but it enters the battlefield with a 0/0 black germ on it. So for 1 mana, you get a 1/1, but when that creature dies, or if you choose to re-equip this equipment, you still get the equipment afterwards. So it solves the problem of needing a creature and an equipment at the same time to get value out of the equipment. The other one is Bladed Pinion. Bladed Pinion gives first strike and flying. A good way to deal with annoying mid-range decks or little fairies. And the way that I wanted to get value out of Dimir Houseguard was giving it the ability to tutor, so we can actually go and get Snuff Out, a 4-mana removal spell that we can cast for just 4 life to destroy target non-black creature, and it can't be regenerated. It's a better version of Doomblade. We also have Ill-Gotten Inheritance, which is a decent way to catch up and a decent way to add to a clock, and just sort of get us a little bit of life over time. 4 mana for an enchantment. At the beginning of our upkeep, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. We only have 1 opponent. And we gain 1 life. We can pay 6, sacrifice it. It deals 4 damage to target opponent and gain 4 life. We gain 4 life. So over time, it does accrue us a little bit of life and cost our opponent something. And when they start to get down to where it's really dangerous and where they're teetering, we can just use this to pick them off. Final way to get a ton of value out of our skeletons is Tortured Existence. Tortured Existence is just 1 mana for an enchantment card. Pay 1 black mana, choose and discard a creature card. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. This is not something that we want a 4 of. It's only good when you already have things in your graveyard. We're not planning to be proactive with filling our graveyard up. So this is only good at one point in the game, and that is late. We can use Tortured Existence to get back any of our skeletons, and we can actually use Sanitarium Skeleton's ability, paying 3 mana, to return Sanitarium Skeleton to our hand. Pay 1 black mana then, and discard it to get back one of these other creatures that might actually have a bit more value for us in the game. By using this kind of synergy, we can end up getting back Augur of Skulls repeatedly, and we can force Tron to discard 2 cards repeatedly. And it's a way for us to ask them how that Muldrifter feels before discarding those cards. For some of the support cards in the deck, we have Faithless Looting and Read the Bones. Read the Bones is just on point. It is a good flavor, the exact right flavor for support cards that we want in the deck. Scry 2, draw 2, we lose 2, and there's a hand just throwing some bones into a circle, yet using some magic. Oh, that's great. Faithless Looting, it's just a classic card in basically every format that it's in. Just an all-star. It's a great all-star card. I like this card. For removal, we got the 3 Chainer's Edicts, removing our need to specialize or dedicate certain sideboard cards to dealing with boggles. I feel like Chainer's Edict is good enough to be in the main, and a lot of other decks too right now do believe that too right now. We also have the 1 Firebolt, another flashback card. Firebolt is good for picking off small creatures like Delvers and whatnot. It's never a bad idea to end up just having an early game shock and a late game shock. Just a good 2-for-1. Echoing Decay has the potential to remove more than 1 creature card, and it can give target creature card -2/-2, and all other creatures with the same name as that card get -2/-2 at the same time. So this is a decent one for Stompy. One of our payoffs for having all of these snow lands is Scred. Deals damage to target creature equal to the number of snow permanents we control. So with Rhinebound Dead and with Scred and these mountains, we can actually have a nice little way to get some synergy out of our mana base and have some powered creatures and some powered up cards. For the mana base, we have 1 snow-covered mountain, 9 snow-covered swamps, and we also have 3 Ash Barrens to make sure that we get access to that mountain. So we have a virtual 4 mountains in the deck. We have 2 Bloodfell Caves for more fixing. Rakdos Carnium, it gives us the ability to keep replaying our lands and to keep getting any of the ETB effects from Witch's Cottage, but it also allows us to get higher up in our total mana count. Witch's Cottage is a payoff for having a lot of swamps, which is why we have this this kind of difference from swamp to mountain ratio. When it enters the battlefield, it enters tapped unless we control 3 or more other swamps, which we will probably have. When Witch's Cottage enters the battlefield untapped, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the top of your library. Another way to end up getting back either Cinder Bones for mid-range matchup, Augur of Skulls for that nice Hymn to Torok. Alright, let's go over the sideboard. For Graveyard Hate, we have Bajuka Bog, which we can continuously use with our Rakdos Carniums, being able to bounce it back to our hand, replay it, and get that ETB again to keep exiling graveyards against Dredge decks and against Tortured Existence decks, Reanimator decks, but sometimes. Usually not often, because as soon as they dredge it over, they will try to reanimate it, which is where Neil Spellbomb comes in, another way to remove graveyards, and we can end up removing their graveyard and drawing a card off of it. For mid-ranged matchups and burn matchups, we have Cartouche of Ambition, a way to give one of our skeletons that's already hard to deal with lifelink in addition to all that, and give one of their creatures -1/-1. Otherwise, it's just good for mid-ranged matchups, like Stompy, for instance. Electricity for elves and tokens. Pyroblast for the blue decks that are real high on counter spells. Serrated arrows to pick off other small creatures. It's also a decent one to tutor out with Dimir Houseguard. It's not bad in mid-range matchups, but it can equal several cards worth of value against elves. Shenanigans mainly be there for affinity, I suppose. Dress against certain control matchups and certain combo matchups to let us know when their combo's coming and to potentially remove it from their hand. Fruit of Tartarus is one of the spicy one-of sideboard cards today. I've noticed that a couple of people are still sticking to that Curse of the Bloody Tome plan. So I want to wean them off that. I want them to help us find our Fruit of Tartarus and then allow us to continuously play Fruit of Tartarus by putting more cards into our graveyard for Fruit of Tartarus and giving us a faster clock to kill them than they have a faster clock to kill us. And they can't infinitely counter this. 4 mana every single turn, just deal you 2, deal you 2, deal you 2. They have less life than we have cards in our library. I believe that we might kill them faster. Thank you everyone for watching, and if you want to see gameplay of this deck, normally I'd have some at the end of the video, but unfortunately I'm a little short on time today with having to work this morning, so I'm gonna have to come back home after work. I'm going to try to make a little gameplay video or maybe work on some other decks. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see gameplay, and you can find that gameplay on my channel. Just click on my name down below. It should take you right there. It should be one of the first videos under new uploads. Thank you for watching. Comment in for that face touch, and don't forget to share.